Thank you very much for staying with us here on SA Today. Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga is expected to outline whether schools can be classified as ready to open after weeks of lost time. For more, let's cross now to our reporter, SABC reporter Mahlako Komane. She will, of course, be having her eyes and ears on the minister this evening as she addresses the minister. Just bear with us, there is a bit of a delay as we talk to Mahlako. Mahlako, good afternoon to you. No doubt you'll be eyes and ears for us this evening as the minister addresses us. What are we expecting this evening? And of course, we know that the last briefing was postponed at the last minute. Take us through the chronology of events regarding the Ministry of Basic Education since the debate started about the reopening of schools.
Yes, indeed, definitely, Flo. The Minister of Basic Education, of course, expected to make that briefing or to make that announcement as to what is the way forward. You'd remember that the last briefing that was had by Minister Motshekga was, she called it in fact, what she had said was that she wanted to clear up that children would not be going to school on the 1st of June necessarily. No, in fact, not even the 1st of June, it was actually the 4th of May. And she came out. This was after the DG in the Department of Basic Education had made that presentation to Parliament, saying these were the plans in terms of how they had planned to ensure that the children are able to go back to school. And there was that big outcry. We saw certain provinces obviously coming out and saying they wouldn't be ready to receive children by, I think, the 4th of May. The minister then announced that the proposed dates for children specifically to see whether will the school bell ring was the 1st of June, which is a few weeks from now. I think there were 2 weeks or so from now. And then she then also announced the staggering in of how they were going to open the sector, with top management being the first to go back in, and then to then filter down to districts, and also SM school management teams were then expected to report on the 11th of May to their schools. This would be your principal, your deputy principal, and then provinces came out again and said that they simply weren't ready because they hadn't received the protective gear and your PPEs, as well as your sanitizers, as well as, I think, masks, which we understood that there was an undertaking to provide certain schools within the various quintiles with those particular masks. As you'll also understand that the rural provinces obviously having more non-fee paying schools than your more urban your provinces then your urban provinces. These would also have to be taken into consideration. Their SMTs were meant to return on the 11th. This was then moved, I think, to the 18th, and I think it was definitely KZN, I think Limpopo, saying that SMTs should not report. And we also saw Labour coming into the fray, which is your unions, saying that they feel that the Department of Basic Education not taking them seriously, not taking the health of workers seriously, because these were not done. And obviously today what we are expecting to hear is what has since then been done, because the minister had said that the staggered reopening of schools in terms of who's returning when was to help the department to be able to procure those particular PPEs, as well as also, I think, having a laid out plan as to what is happening. Yeah. We also saw earlier on in the week KwaZulu-Natal, the MEC Gwazim Shengu receiving textbooks. We know that overcrowding, huge challenge across different schools in various provinces. So that also obviously speaks to issues of social distancing. We know that some children also in some schools also sharing textbooks, which was also quite the concern, that the sharing of textbooks does not allow for social distancing to take place. We saw KwaZulu-Natal having received some material. We are also, when we last spoke to Limpopo, having said that they were expecting to receive some of these PPEs. They said a few days. This was more than a week ago. We are going to now hear today which province is sitting at what. And then we also saw that there were stories that did circulate, and I think a Sunday newspaper also publishing that they were trying to open the schools in terms of different provinces opening according to the various levels that exist in terms of the alerts, and how if an area is considered high risk, will they then be opening later? And I think certain metros, we know that there is a challenge at the metros. They were identified as areas where these would not necessarily open on the 1st of June. But I think a lot of parents obviously quite anxious, Flo, to find out if the school bell will ring on the 1st of June for the grade 12s and 7s as is proposed. But also, I think quite importantly, how are they going to filter this according to the different challenges that the various provinces and the cities find themselves with? And I think also, just to throw it forward, it will hopefully, after this minister's briefing that everybody has been waiting for quite some days, it will then give the provinces the opportunity tomorrow to address parents and tell them what are the different plans according to the provinces, who has received what, who hasn't received what. We also, I think, just quickly saw Limpopo saying, taking out a circular about how seemingly finance is quite a big challenge as to where's this money coming from to procure this additional spend that wasn't necessarily budgeted for. So I think a lot of parents quite anxious, millions of parents across the country quite anxious to see what is it that is going to happen, what plans need to be made going forward for their children.
All right, Mahlako, thank you very much for that in-depth response. And of course, we'll be hearing from you throughout the evening with regards to what the minister will be saying this evening. Thank you very much for that. That's our reporter, Mahlako Komane, who will, of course, be listening in on the Minister Angie Motshekga's address this evening to the media at 6 p.m., which, of course, will be broadcast right here on SABC News. Well, our question of the day.